Good afternoon, everyone. If you're looking to join the MOE CEIS webinar, you are in the right place. We will get started in just a few short minutes, right around 2 o'clock, to allow people to join. Thanks for your patience. Hi, everybody. If you're looking to join the MOE CEIS webinar, you are in the right place. We've had a huge jump in attendees in the past couple of minutes, so we will get started right around 2 o'clock. If you can, if you've not yet joined a PSC webinar in the past couple of months, we have a new webinar platform. As you can see, we are using Adobe Connect. We will go over things shortly, but the main thing is if you can, if you're calling in with a phone, please mute yourself. Otherwise, we might hear you during the webinar today. So we will get started in just a couple of minutes. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for your patience. Hi, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the MOE and CEIS webinar today. We are going to get started here, and I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to join us today. First things first, one of the most important things about the webinar today is that if you're calling in through your phone or computer, please mute yourself. We have a new webinar platform where everyone is not muted upon entry, and we do get feedback here and there. So if you can just be adamant about making sure that you're muted, that would be great so that all the attendees don't get feedback. For today, we will have the webinar recorded. I know we are in quite an odd place right now, and a lot of people are not used to maybe being home, or if you're in the office and you have other individuals in your office somewhere else working. Please note that today's webinar will be recorded, and we will make it available to everyone by the end of the week, and we will send a broadcast to notify you. That webinar recording and the slide deck is made public, so please feel free to share that within your organization so that anyone working on the MOE CEIS survey has access to this recording as well as the guidance if they need it. I also just want to remind you guys to sift through your organization to call PSC if they have any questions or if they're frustrated with something and maybe you're working remotely and you're unable to help each other or figure it out. Just give us a call. That's what we're here for. We will do anything and everything to help the next couple of months go as smooth as possible for everybody. Something else is that's new. We have a new webinar platform, so if you haven't joined a webinar in the past couple of months, right now we're using Adobe Connect, as you can see. So we do have the Q&A panel on the right side of your screen. So if you have any questions today for the webinar related to MOE and CEIS, we do have OSEP on the line. I will go over that shortly, but we will answer all the questions that we can as time permits at the end of the webinar. So as you're going through the slides and you think of something, please feel free to add that. Last, we have a different way that we do surveys now. At the end of the webinar, there will be a survey monkey that we will present on your desktop. If you can just hang on with us through the Q&A, that survey monkey will come up at the end. So don't hang up just at the end once we're done. And make sure you hang with us through the Q&A so we can maybe answer any questions that you might have. I'm going to remind you guys to please go on mute if you have not already. We will get feedback if we don't have attendees on mute. So let's go ahead and get started. For today, my name is Jess Green. I'm with the EdFacts Partner Support Center. I've probably spoken with a lot of you on the phone, and if I haven't, then I may in the future. From the Office of Special Education, or OSEP, I have Rochelle Davis joining me. From ESB, the Administrative Division within the Department of Ed, I have Liz Fenning. Additionally, this webinar is pretty much targeted to the Part B data managers or anyone who is working with IDEA Part B MOE CEIS data. So that could be office personnel or technical assistance providers, project officers, and state contacts as well. So today, we're going to run through a few different topics. We're going to go over EMAPS. So if you've never worked with EMAPS, we will go over, in general, what it is and the technological requirements. We're going to go over some new things that are happening this year with the survey. We'll go over the timeline and the overview, any updates to the survey. With MOE CEIS, we don't really have a demonstration that we can do, so I'm just going to walk you through how to navigate throughout the survey. It's a pretty easy process other than a couple things, so we'll go over that. Rochelle's going to come on and she'll go through the OSEP guidance slides and kind of give you guys some guidance on MOE in general. We'll go over the data template and the email notifications that you guys get. We'll go over some general frequently asked questions, some resources, and then at the end, like I mentioned before, we will have the Q&A session. So EMAPS is the web-based tool used to provide Part B state lead agencies with an easy method of reporting and maintaining data to meet federal reporting requirements, as well as information on state policy, plans, and metadata that aid in the analysis of data collected. It's also short for the EDFACS metadata and process system, which is where EMAPS comes from. And EMAPS is mainly used and functions best in Chrome. So you can use IE and other browsers, but we prefer that you use Chrome because you'll get the best experience out of the website. And then every Saturday, EMAPS is unavailable from 8 to 2. That's just for regularly scheduled maintenance. So if you happen to jump online to do some surveys on Saturdays in the morning during that time, you'll get a message saying that the website's down. So don't be alarmed. This is just a snapshot of the MOE CEIS timeline. So the survey will open on March 30th. It's going to be due May 6th. And then between May 6th and mid-July, the data quality is going to be completed by the program office. And right before the survey reopens on July 27th, you guys will get those emails notifying you that the data quality report is uploaded to OMB Max. And then the reopen is going to be July 27th through August 26th. This is just an overview of the actual MOE CEIS survey. It basically provides the 4 main bullet points listed below for every LEA and ESA that receives an IDEA 611 or 619 subgrant. These are slimmed down. There is a lot more information with all 4 of these. They are in the user guide. So they're also on the main page of the survey. But basically, it provides information on LEA and ESA allocations, the maintenance of effort reduction, provision of coordinated early intervening services, so you can see where those acronyms come from, and then the number of children receiving CEIS. This is just an overview of the survey itself. So today, every Part B data manager should have received an email that had an individualized for your state data template. It was in CSV format. That template can also be located in EMAPS. After entering the data, you will upload to EMAPS. You'll upload your data file into EMAPS after it opens, which is going to be on Monday, March 30th. So anytime after that, you go into your survey, you'll upload it. Once it's uploaded, you have to wait a little bit of time as far as receiving an automated email that's going to tell you if the file has processed, and it's going to tell you whether or not there are fatal errors in that data file. If there's any fatal errors, you cannot proceed. You have to go back to the original file that you submitted, and you have to correct them. And then once you get a notification saying that your file processed without errors, you can log in back into EMAPS, download and review the final report. Make sure you've addressed all warnings if there are any, and then you can actually submit the report to the database, and you can also provide general or any specific comments as needed at that time. Once you submit, you'll want to make sure it's just completed by Wednesday, May 6th at 11:59 p.m. That is Eastern Time, which is the deadline. So there is really only one big thing that's new this year, well, two. The first one is a data note checkbox. So if you did the child count surveys in EMAPS, you'll notice that there is a new checkbox box feature, but if you haven't, we are going to go over this in a little bit. It's kind of geared towards emails, so we'll go into detail. And then there is some new guidance here, and Rochelle is going to go over it in a little bit. But basically, children with disabilities or non-children with disabilities who received CCEIS in this year's survey submission are not to be included. So I believe this was sent via email to all Part B data managers, but we just want to reiterate this to you as far as your team and organization. But if you have any questions, please let us know. But Rochelle will go into this later in a little bit. This is the data note checkbox feature that we were discussing. So it's only available during the reopen, and it'll be on the summary page, and we'll go over this in a little bit as well, so you know where in the process it would be. But during the reopen period, you're going to have an option to basically check if a data note was submitted in lieu of updating the survey responses, meaning you didn't have any updates to make. And but also what this does is it prevents you and your state from getting notification emails throughout the duration of the reopen period saying, hey, you haven't submitted your survey yet. Please make sure you log in. But if you're not resubmitting, this allows you to not receive those. So like I mentioned before, we don't have a demonstration of MOE and CEIS. So I'm going to walk you through the pretty simple process of uploading the survey, as well as the detailed portion, which is reviewing your errors. And as a reminder, I'd like to just remind you to mute your phones if you can on your end so that we don't receive any feedback through the webinar today. Okay, so this is the EMAPS login page. You're going to go ahead and put your username and password, which are both case sensitive. And if you have any issues logging in or you don't remember your password, you can actually click that forgot your password link right there, and it will ask you for your username, and then it will send you a link to reset your own password. If you still can't figure it out, just call PSC and we'll help you. So the first thing that you do when you log in is the system redirects you to the EdFacts portal page, which you see here. To access MOE CEIS, you click that link at the bottom under the Part B header. This is going to take you to the main page of the MOE CEIS survey. Also, as a reminder, I'm using a test account, so nothing that you see through the webinar is, it's all fictional data and screenshots. So when you click that link, it takes you to the summary page. The summary page has a couple different things. It has a progress bar, as you can see, so it will move as you go through the survey. It also has some just general instructions as a reminder, an overview of how to complete the survey. And at the very bottom, you'll see a direct quick link to the user guide. So if you're in the survey and you need the user guide, you can just go back to the summary page and access it. So there's two ways to access the data file template. You guys should have received an email today that has an attached template to it. But you can also actually log into the survey in EMAPS and access that data file template from your state reports folder. So what you would do is when you log in, you would just go directly to the state reports, and then you would click this state data files template. And just make sure you look for the creation date. It'll be a February date for this year's. So just make sure you go in, you can click that template, and it will be there. You won't be able to access fatal errors or confirm that there are no fatal errors until you receive a confirmation email when you're submitting your report to EMAPS. So you're going to want to make sure that you just are patient during the process of submitting, because it does take some time sometimes. Depending on how many LEAs or ESAs are in your state, it can take up to several hours. So you can submit it and then go do something else, and then once it processes, you'll get an email. So once you have your entire template filled out, then you go into EMAPS and you're going to actually upload it to the database. And it's a really simple process. You just log in, you click that upload form button, which will be in the top right-hand corner of your screen. A new tab will open on related actions, as you can see in the second screenshot. And you just click the box where it says drop file here. If you click that box, it'll actually pull up your documents browser on your computer. Once you find your file, you just click submit. And in this process, after that, it is uploading the data file to the template, to the database for MOE. And like I said, you don't do anything once you upload to the database. You basically are waiting for that email to tell you what your next step is. You will get an email like the one that's right here. It's either going to tell you that it could be uploaded, and there might be some warnings, or it could not be uploaded, which is what this one is, saying that you have fatal flaw. There's a couple different ways to address fatal flaws. The first thing that you want to do is look at the error report. We'll go on how to do that in just a second. But once you go to the error report, it's going to list out all of your errors and what exactly you need to address in your template. When you go to address those, you don't want to update anything on the file that is in EMAPS that you uploaded. You want to go back to your original data file template that you created that has all of your LEAs and ESAs in it. Once you address all your errors, you do that same process again. You go back into EMAPS, you upload your data file, and you have to wait for that email again. Now, if you need to know what fatal errors are, or you're looking for additional information on them, you can go to the user guide. They list all of them out. When you're looking for the error report based on the email that you got, go through, you go back to your EMAPS page, you go back to the State Reports tab, and then you're going to use this drop-down menu right here. You're going to click Error Reports, and then you'll want to grab the most recent one that you submitted, and that's how you can view your error log. So if you've uploaded your data file template, you received an email saying that there were no fatal errors, you can then go and download the final report in EMAPS. To do that, you just go to the State Reports tab and you go to Data Files. The final report will also include auto-calculated figures as well as any data warnings. They will be listed on every single line in correlation with the LEA or ESA that it's in relation to. So it becomes a really big data file, but if you have trouble reading it or understanding it, just call PSC and we'll walk you through it. So when you're addressing warnings, they're going to actually be in the final report that you have. If there are any, column AF, and like I said, these slides will be available afterwards, so you don't have to write anything down. But column AF will indicate yes on this final report, so it's going to be a gigantic Excel spreadsheet. You're going to make any corrections to address warnings if you want those warnings to clear by basically going back through the process of uploading a new data file. You don't want to upload your final report. You have to go back to the original data file template that you uploaded. If the data that you submitted are correct with the warnings, then you'll just want to provide a comment to address any warnings that are left over in the comment box, which is on the submit screen. And at that point, you're basically ready to submit the final report. And when you do, there's a box at the bottom. It's going to tell you that you can add a comment if you want. So that is where you would add any data that you guys reported as missing, any warnings that haven't been resolved, or then any large changes in the allocations that were reported last year. So on your year-to-year comparison report that's generated. And then the final report will also be available in the repository after you receive the automated email. So the final report will basically be finished uploading to the database after you get an automated email, which will be the final email that you'll get. And again, as a reminder, depending on if you have a lot of districts in your state, it could take a couple hours for that process to finish as well. once you submit the final report. So to submit the final report, you go to Submit tab, which is to the right of Summary. And pretty much it'll tell you if you have any comments or any warnings, and then you can provide all of your errors there. There is a 4,000 character limit. And essentially, if you're trying to count characters, what you can do is use Notepad, and it'll include all of your periods and commas or any of that sort. This is just a copy of the confirmation email you'll get once your final report is uploaded to the database successfully. It'll tell you congratulations, and that if you need to make any changes between now and the due date, you can do so. You can go back through and resubmit if you notice an issue before May 6th. So I'm going to turn it over to Rochelle right now. She's going to go through a couple of slides and kind of review some guidance for you guys. And can you hear me, Rochelle? Hi, Rochelle.
I can. Hi.
Wonderful.
Well, first off, thank you. Thank you for the beginning slides here. That was great. I want to take a second and let you guys probably figured out that I'm not Meredith. Meredith would normally be here, but we're happy to say that we have a new member of the data team. Adley Morgan was born on March 18th, right around 7 p.m. So Meredith is out on maternity leave, which means you guys are stuck with me for this experience. So I'm going to do the best that I can. If you guys have extra questions, please make sure you put them in the chat box. I have some support with me to help me answer some of those questions so that we can get you guys the best answers that we can. So that's part one. Part two, I know that there is a lot of concern and panic about what we're going to do to get this file in. And so what I want to start with is please don't panic. We are well aware that MOE is one of the more difficult files to get in and that it requires the most coordination and collaboration with some of your coworkers and other offices or other places. And so we are in our deliberative processes to try to figure out how we can assist with that or what we can do. So the system will open because kind of the train is on the tracks. We're not able to stop it as easy, but we are working towards coming up with some solutions to help you, and we will be in touch with those soon, hopefully. So with that, let me start with the OSEP guidance section. So these slides are based on some of the questions and different concerns that we've seen over the years in reviewing the MOE CEIS files. So I'm going to do my best not to read them, but unfortunately there will be some reading that has to happen with these. So one of the first questions that we get is who gets reported or who should be reported in this file. So states should only report data from LEAs or SEAs that, one, meet the definition of an LEA in 34 CFR 300.28, and we're going to see that here in a second. Two, submitted a plan that provides assurances to the SEA that the LEA or ESEA meets each of the conditions in 300.201 through 300.213 and has received an IDEA Section 611 and or IDEA Section 619 subgrant under 300.705 and or 300.816 directly from the SEA for the reporting year. So if we go to the next slide, actually the next two slides are going to be pretty dense. So can I get you to get to the next slide? I don't think I have that ability. Okay. So the next two slides are the actual definitions from 300.28. And so the first section A tells us what a local education agency is. I am not going to read through that. Please make sure this is going to be recorded so you can go back and read it. And then B tells us what educational service agencies and other public institutions or agencies are. And so again, please take the time to read through those. And then here, again, gives you a little more information on what an educational service agency and or other public institution or agency is. So let's continue on and look at what doesn't count for what entities should not have data reported in this data collection. So there are several different entities that should not have data. The first of which is charter schools that are public schools of an LEA. So charter schools that are not their own LEA. Public charter schools that are not an LEA or a school that is part of an LEA. ESEAs that do not submit a plan that provides assurances to the SEA that the ESA meets each of the conditions in 300.201 through 300.213. They're not members of an SEA, so not individual LEAs that establish joint eligibility, and should not be state programs and LEAs that do not receive an IDEA subgrant. So those are the 6 entities that should not have data reported for this data collection. So if we go to the next page, we get a little bit more guidance on how some of the errors that we've seen over the years. So over the past couple of years, OSEP has flagged state submissions that reported $0 for the amount that an LEA or SEA received for its IDEA Section 619 subgrant. For the states, many of you explained that those LEAs or ESEAs do not have preschool. Well, that might be the case. States are required to allocate Section 619 funds to provide special education and related services to children with disabilities aged 3 through 5 years, and that's from 300.800. If you go to the next one, please. So one of the other pieces that we want to look at here is 5-year-olds in kindergarten. So LEAs and ESEAs that establish their eligibility, including public charter schools that operate as LEAs and that serve 5-year-old children, must receive an IDEA Section 619 allocation. So this includes LEAs that do not have preschool programs but do serve 5-year-olds in kindergarten. These eligible LEAs and SEAs that are responsible for providing education to children aged 3 through 5 years must receive an